Crazy day yesterday. Obviously, we're finding out more and more about the shooter. We're going to have updates, obviously, throughout the day. And, look, swung and missed. I thought, anybody goes in and shoots a girl than themselves, that's got to be a lover's quarrel. And found out it was a nut. And a horrible situation of rantings and ravings of a 17-year-old, everything from anti-Semitism to say he's inspired by the likes of Nick Fuentes and several others, and Candace Owens and whatnot. Just a kid that went down the rabbit hole of hate. And you wonder, how the hell did you get there? How did you get there? And it's a horrible situation, and I'm sure we're going to find out more about family, guns, the whole nine yards. But as I was telling people, the shiny object will change this soon. We'll be on to something else. Plus, there is no mystery. Right? With Covenant, there was a mystery. Yes, there were 6 people killed, but there was a mystery of the everything from the manifesto to everything else. This was all online. And how much of it's his and not his, because I've seen several people send me stuff that maybe his, some, yeah, that's his, others it's not. But we will move on from this because the shiny object is something that we happen to follow. I mean, nothing holds our attention anymore. Call it the TikTok society, call it whatever you want. Not much holds our attention. But we will have all the information you need here. Make sure of that. Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. And that's a good thing, right? I mean, that's what, it's funny when I see people freak out. They're like, oh my God, he's doing stuff. Like, that's what he said he was going to do.
Do you mean he's officially acting like a dictator now?
He is.
Because it's been, I mean, we're closing in on half a week here, and the dictatorship should be underway, right?
Dude, it's so, Bell, you have no idea how dictator he has become. I mean, he is dictatoring it everywhere. It is crazy what he's doing. The show of force. And I'm just going to say, it's a show of force for sure. It's a show of force down at the border. It's like never been more showy than it is right now. It's definitely a show of force. What are you going to do? That's a force show. That's a show of force. You over there, show of force?
This is really a show of force by the Trump administration along the U.S. southern border. There are already troops who are helping U.S. Border Patrol along the border, but this is going to be in addition to that with those 1,500 and perhaps more to follow. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to be focused on operational readiness, on augmenting air operations, on providing intelligence support when it comes to assessing threats and the flow of migrants. A lot of work that can be done and is often done behind the scenes. But in addition to all of that, they are also sending military aircraft today to San Diego and to El Paso to repatriate those who are already in Border Patrol custody.
That's right. They're going to give them parachutes, and they're just going to fly them over the country and just have fun. It's not a very nice chance. So is it a show of force? Yes. Are they going to do anything? Well, here's the thing. So I talked to a couple of my buddies last night we play pickleball together a lot when I'm out in Arizona. And I said, are you excited? They said, dude, we're so pumped. We're so excited. We don't feel like we are ticket takers, right? That's what they used to joke and call themselves, ticket takers. We're just here to take tickets, right? Like you're going to an amusement park. Hey, welcome to America. Have fun. They used to joke, we need to put a turnstile in, right? With somebody with a clicker. Like that's where they were at, the frustration. And I said, they can't do anything, right? So the military that they have down there, first of all, you've got the National Guard in certain parts. That's not really doing they're doing some of the logistics and stuff like that. But I said, what can they do? They said, well, they can't really do what you think, but they're going to provide certain things. But having extra hands, because what they used to tell me is they'd get there, they'd go out, right, to wherever they were going to go. So for around my area, they would be down in the Tucson sector, and they would go on out there, and they said, within a little while, we would go out and we'd pick up, there'd be a group out there, and sometimes there would be a few that you'd have to chase, and sometimes it would just be a whole bunch that would surrender to you. Then you have to transport them, get them back, and he goes, then the rest of the night, that's it. Our night's done. I am just filling out paperwork and information. That's where the help is needed. We feel like we can not only pass that on to other people, but get back out there and actually be somewhat of a deterrent, knowing full well we can start to turn people around and immediately get him back to Mexico, that's what this is all about. And Mexico is going to have a real issue because they're complaining about the fact that, okay, now we don't want them here. Well, we didn't ask for them to come here either. You were fine when it was a thoroughfare. But now that they have to picnic on your side of the fence, you're not thrilled by it.
That would mean those recent border crossers who can be quickly repatriated to their origin country. So they will be using military aircraft to do that. Now, the border is relatively quiet. I'm told that there are just between 1,100 to 1,300 crossings a day. That is far below when it was 6,000, 8,000, 12,000 before. So this is going to be a way to augment support along the U.S. southern border, but it also comes at a time when crossings are lower than where they've been before, and also as the administration has essentially sealed off the border to asylum seekers.
Boom. And they've not sealed off the border to asylum seekers. That's a lie. They have stopped catch and release. The way that asylum is supposed to happen. So let's just say you've escaped Uzbekistan or one of the stands where I forgot which one the crazy guy runs. And if you guys don't know about him, he's the one that you can't have anything but a white car. I mean, have you ever seen this guy? He's spectacular. You know what I'm talking about?
Talking about the dictator in
Is it Targistan or something like that?
Tajikistan or something?
Yeah, one of those. But
look.
You can only have a white car. Like, this is how crazy it is. And it's just, he's nutty. Let's say you escape there and you get to the first safe haven, right? Let's say you manage to get on a plane and you land in Paris. You're supposed to apply for asylum in Paris. Doesn't mean you're applying for France. But to get into America, you have to wait there. But what's happening is they pass through all of these places. Then they come here. They work they get South America. They work their way up. It is insane.
Turkmenistan.
He's crazy.
President Sadar.
Yes.
Berdemaham Googly Moogly.
Great Googly Moogly is his name. He's the one who also, I think, changed the name or words in the anthem to represent his mother. That's how crazy he is.
Man, being a dictator is good work if you can get it.
Good work if you can get it. And he's got it. So what's supposed to happen is you land in these places, you apply. We've allowed them to come here, apply, and then come on in. Mexico, in theory, let's say Scheinbaum is going to prosecute somebody for just being in the opposition party and they're running for their life politically. They can come to America and apply for asylum because it's the first safe haven. That's it. That's the way it's supposed to work. And instead, over the last umpteen years, it's just been a free-for-all of everybody gets to come in and you get to be just chilling in America until we get to your case, which God knows when that'll be. Then you move from there to the cities. And I was talking to Chris about this. I'm curious about the cities. I do know that there's going to be some pushback in some places. Other places are going to push back against their states. One of those places is Huntington Beach, California, that yesterday passed a bill, if you will, whatever you want to call it, that they are not a sanctuary city, that they're not going to allow any of this stuff to happen. They will cooperate if asked. They're not going to go out of their way. But you're going to have a bunch of other places that are going to do everything they can to run interference.
They have been targeting sanctuary cities over the course of the campaign, but even during Donald Trump's first term, these are cities that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement authorities. In other words, they do not, or they limit their information sharing with those authorities. Now, as you mentioned, Tom Homan has often criticized them, and as has the president. He mentioned them during an interview with Sean Hannity last night, suggesting that he would keep federal funding from those cities.
We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big example.
Would you cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
And the way that you do that, so everybody thinks, oh, immediately you can cut off their money. No, you can't. So whatever's been allocated from the fiscal year that's just passed, that's what they're going to get. There are other monies that may be coming, like FEMA and whatnot, that you may be able to pull some strings on. It's kind of a Richard move. I understand why you'd want to do that, but there's going to be some states and there's going to be some people in some of these states, in some of these cities, that are going to virtue signal. They're going to raise their profile. It's ridiculous. The fact that we tell cities and states not to work with the feds. The feds, in theory, don't have a lot to do. But one of the things, in fact, maybe their primary thing is immigration. We don't allow the states to do immigration. So that's a Fed thing. And the fact that you wouldn't help if they requested it because you have somebody in custody who's got orders to be removed, to me is mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling. And I'm not saying that, and you know, I know yesterday they passed the Lincoln Riley thing, and there's some things in there I really like, some stuff that's very, I can see the point. But the reality is, how did we get to a point now where we're so sold for protecting a group of people who, in many cases, we're not talking about schools. I don't want kids who are 10 who came here not on their own device to be terrified at school. I don't want that. I don't think anybody does. I don't want to turn churches into a place where they're going to be storming the church. We don't want any of that stuff. We want to catch the bad guys and the people that have done stuff. That's what should happen. And yet we are watching states fight the feds to protect people who, quite frankly, have come into the country, abused the system, maybe come here completely illegally without even applying for asylum, have broken the law, in custody, may have orders to be removed, and they still won't participate. That is insanity right there. Who wins? Let me tell you who wins. Nobody in America wins on that one. Coming up, a lot of stuff still to get to today, including, man, do we have a story for you guys. They were trying really hard to make an impression at Christmas on this cruise. Swing and a miss is the best way to describe it. Swing and a miss in a very bad way. We'll talk about that, bunch of other stuff. My name's Chad Benson, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, RUFF Greens.com. Use code Chad. Go there, check out, and see what they have. And this is a supplement that you give your dog and cat. So the food you buy your cat and dog, you know, you're like, oh, this is nice. It says it's fresh. That stuff is shelf stable. It's meant to live on a shelf. Okay? So you've got stuff that really has nutrients and stuff. They're not getting all they need. Rough Greens supplements that and then some. Gives them extra stuff that they're not going to find in any of those things, because green is good, brown is bad. You know that for your health. So try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens. Maybe your dog struggles with aches and pains in their joints. You watch what happens when you start giving them this. Maybe your cat has issues with their skin and their fur. Watch what happens, how great their coat looks. They're going to give you a $20 value Jumpstart trial bag for free. All they ask you to do, cover the cost of shipping. Is that it? Simple. It's easy, a few bucks. They send it out to you. You don't have to change anything with your animal's food. Just take one scoop, sprinkle it on top, watch what happens. Go to roughgreens.com, use code CHAD right now. Save $20 value, this free Jumpstart trial bag for free. You cover the cost of shipping. Roughgreens.com, use code CHAD.
We're learning what did not work to keep students safe at Antioch High School yesterday. That story and more coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk and 99.7 WTN.
You know, I've seen so much, and I'm like, well, what if they would have had a detector, a metal detector? I'm like, what is that? If it's not manned by somebody who can shoot, then what does it matter? Am I missing something?
Well, and, you know, yesterday, something that I just never thought of when it comes to metal detectors. Matt had a guest on who is an expert in business and home security. And he said you've got to take into account how large this particular high school is.
Yeah.
And are we really going to make 2,100 students go through a metal detector, have to be wanded every day before they get to class?
Yeah, you're going to have to be there for hours.
They'll have to get to school at like 4:30 in the morning.
Exactly, just to get through. And again, let's just say that you really want to kill somebody. Who's manning this? Is it a teacher that's unarmed? Is it a SRO who's not expecting a kid to pull out a gun and blast because their goal is to kill a whole bunch of people? Well, this isn't. And it sounds like, oh, we should do this, but I get that. It's a sense of security, but as far as a prevention side of it, if it's a gun and somebody wants to do that kind of damage, it may alert somebody quickish, but I just don't see how it would have stopped this. I just don't. And like you said, man, God, hey kids, today's your day to get there at 2 a.m. so you can get to class by 8.
Yeah.
No.
And then the pat down of minors.
Yeah, that's not going to go over well.
So there's some parents out there who will say, you're not touching my child.
No. I mean, it's, we're always looking for ways to prevent. And the ways to prevent stuff like this happens years before it happens. Months before it happens. But you've got to be able to see it. And everybody wants to think, my kid could never do that. My kid could never do that. We always joke, my little brother, who is 14, he's got a defiance disorder. We always joke, that we know the shooter. It's like they come to our house, we're like, we knew it. Now, I love Elijah, and I don't think that will ever happen. God bless him. And he gets more therapy and help, and he's loved. But you don't know this stuff. I mean, once in a while, like the mystery of Las Vegas is still that. You know, there's a conspiracy around it. How's a guy who's got all this money and then his girlfriend and the whole 9 yards do something like this? How and why would he, when he seemed to have everything, right? He had money. His life wasn't bad. There's a mystery sometimes. Sometimes people just, who knows why? That's why we're always so curious, because we always want to know, could it be us that twist this off? You know, could that happen? But for this, nobody knew any of this stuff was going on? Like that he had these kind of troubles? And I'm sure we'll find out some stuff. But nobody, and I'm talking about not so much a kid at school, but family members or whoever thought, So that's when you want to know how you prevent this. Well, the prevention comes in how many people can you prevent them from killing once it started. But the real prevention starts before it ever gets to this point. You've got to recognize. And yes, there are going to be people that slip through the cracks. No matter how hard you try, there will be people that smile and you think they're fine and something will happen. And I'm not even saying they're going to go kill themselves or somebody else or a whole bunch, but there are always going to be some people that have some issues. And that's what I talked about yesterday. Sometimes I just think it's the wiring. But, you know, you go and you put these giant, huge metal detectors. So one of the homeroom teachers is standing there, and they walk through, and the kid's got a gun. What is she going to do? Alert somebody? Probably not, till it's too late. So what's going to happen at that point in time? They start shooting early? Plus, the metal detectors, like you said, God, you'd be standing out there for a long time. Somebody wants to really do damage. Well, we talk about with, what's her name? Taylor Swift. Man, those guys were attacking outside of the place. Yeah, they would shoot outside.
Yeah, these kids would be sitting ducks.
Yeah. So it's, in the SROs, like we said yesterday, they're there to break up fights. They're there to do some stuff like that. They're there to react when something happens, not prevent it as much as they would like to. Because they're not mind readers. And I'm telling you, this is where AI is going to come into play sooner than people think. Which is scary, I know, for some of you out there. The whole thing about AI is like, no, don't be scared. Don't be scared, I promise you. Coming up, a lot of stuff still to get to. I want to talk about that Purdue Pharma thing. That's a big deal. I mean, obviously, Kentucky being next door, that's a huge deal. How much money was it?
Shoot, I've got to go back and look
50 quadrillion?
We could only be so lucky.
God.
$7.4 billion.
The Sacklers. Talk about the biggest drug dealers.
That apparently is on top of what was already.
Yeah. They are. That whole thing is just the opioid nightmare is crazy. Talk about that, bunch of other things, and some fun stuff. Like I said, a cruise, I don't know what you were thinking, wasn't the best idea. I'm just going to put that out there. It's Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
$12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Metro Police say there are a number of unsubstantiated threats to schools today. They've got extra patrols out in an abundance of caution in the wake of yesterday's Antioch High School shooting, particularly Cane Ridge, Glencliff, Hillsborough, and McGavock High Schools. Apparently, there was an arrest of a student at McGavock High School today because of a weapon in a backpack. Meanwhile, Channel 4 says Metro Schools says it had weapons detection technology turned on at the time of yesterday's shooting at Antioch High School, but it did not work. They said it didn't recognize when the gun was pulled and didn't notify police or school security, as its owner, Omni, says it will do within seconds. That might answer at least some of the questions which state lawmakers have, including House Education Subcommittee Chair Scott Sapicki, who tells WTN's Dan Mandis there's a mental health component that needs to be addressed.
These individuals, they have crossed a line mentally that they are willing to shoot another individual, and we've got to try to get them as much help as we can ahead of time, and being able to look for the signals and get people trained to look for the signals of someone who's in distress.
Yeah, Sapicki says the General Assembly has provided more than $200 million for mental health of Tennesseans. That includes students and school districts who want to make sure all districts, the General Assembly that is, wants to make sure all school districts are using these funds for social workers or crisis intervention teams when a student or individual is identified as being in crisis. Purdue Pharma and the Sackler families have agreed to a new and bigger settlement to resolve mass opioid litigation. The Sacklers and Purdue boosting their financial contribution to $7.4 billion after the Supreme Court overturned the prior settlement, says Aaron Katursky.
Purdue Pharma is out of the opioids business, and Purdue Pharma really came to exist because of opioids, OxyContin in particular. But now it's out of that game. Members of the Sackler families can have nothing to do with opioids, and it's going to be a board of directors made up of the very same entities that sued Purdue Pharma to decide what the company should do next, but it's going to look a whole lot different than it was.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Speaking of sunshine, what's going on with your retirement account? Why don't you get a second opinion from my friends over at Board Capital? I send everybody to him. I love him. Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, is just a great guy, and he'll walk you through what it is that they do when it comes to your retirement. First, foremost, you are you, and your retirement shouldn't be cookie cutter. That's the most important thing. Your retirement is about you. So how do you get there for you, not for everybody else? That's what they're going to go over. They're going to show you what's going on in your retirement, where you want to go. Are you over-leveraged in certain areas? Are you exposed in certain areas? Are you not pushing to make more for what you want to do? That's what they're going to show you inside of your account. Then they'll send you on your way. It's called a free risk review, or I call it a second opinion. And call them today, 866-779-RISK, 866-779-RISK. Talk to Zach, the entire team over there. They're awesome. Not going to cost you anything but a little bit of time. You can check out everything else they do at knowyourriskradio.com, KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not a guarantee. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Trek 24378. That Sackler deal with the OxyContin is big. I don't think people realize how horrific this opioid addiction was. Some of you may have, because you've seen your family tore apart from it, and especially here, look, throughout the South, let's be real, Kentucky, I mean, you can go up and down the coast, but everywhere in the country. And somebody said, how do we hold a pharmacy and pharmaceutical companies and doctors and stuff? You hold them accountable because the Sacklers lied. They knew it was addictive, and they told everybody it was not only not addictive, it was just great for you. They pitched the dream. So if you know anything about the pharmaceutical industry, do you think, I'll ask Bell this. Bell, do you think that the pharmaceutical industry, when they're selling their pills to doctors, send fat, ugly girls and guys to the doctors?
I can say unequivocally, I can say definitely that they send very pretty blonde women in nice clothes with very well done hair and makeup.
Yes.
And a few guys, but mostly hot women.
Strippers with the pills. That's what I used to joke and call them. I mean, that's it. Why? Well, you're a doctor. You're 47, right? You're living the dream. You're working hard, and they're coming to pitch their product to you. And they're telling you, product's the most amazing thing ever. Pew. It's going to do all these things, but it's not addictive. They knew it was. And eventually, especially in some smaller towns, people are eating them like candy. And many of you probably have family members, maybe even yourself, struggled with it. I mean, the stories of people who are like, guy hurts his knee on the job really bad. He has to have surgery, takes a few of these, takes a few of those. Next thing you know, within a year, he's not in his house anymore. He's lost his family. He's on the street. He's taking anything. And it happens like that. I mean, it's that insane how fast it happens. That I don't do anything. I was telling the guys, I had to have, actually, Ken and I were going over our teeth pulling incidents in the world that we've had. And I was talking about when I got here, because I played in Europe, played soccer when I was younger, I had broken my jaw a couple times. And they tried to do some bridges, tried to do some stuff, but it was just, my jaw was broken really at one time so bad that...
I love how nonchalant you are about that. Yeah, one time I got my head cut off, and then we had, I had to go get it sewn back on.
It grew back. It was what it was. So my teeth, I tried for years to try to save them. It was tough. So I had to go in and have it pulled. And first of all, I'm a ginger. For those of you guys who don't know, you can't see because I shave my head. I'm a ginger. I don't do well with anesthesia. By that, it just doesn't work for me very well. So a lot of times I just grin and bear it. And I went in and they offered me all this stuff. I'm like, I don't want anything. If I need something, I'll take an ibuprofen and I'll move on with my life. Because I grew up in a world where my dad was a horrific drug addict. That's what cost him his life. I've seen it. So I'm terrified of that. I am. And to see what it does to people. This was one of those things, though, where everybody thought because doctors were giving it to you, it was okay. Hey, doctors are giving it to you. They're prescribing it. It's okay. They were being lied to. And they started to realize it's destroying our town, especially some small towns throughout the South and Midwest. It's destroying their towns. And it was. And they started to go, wait a minute here. This isn't right. What's going on? That's when they realized this is all fake. But it had spread. And you want to know why we've got a fentanyl crisis? A lot of it comes from that. Comes from the opioids. And again, it is, do I blame them for everything? No. But once you start lying to push things out, I mean, remember the tobacco industry, how much they lied. Was it Ford with the Pintos? I think that was a lie, too, about them blowing up and whatnot. And so they all hide their stuff. Look at Boeing right now. And this cost more than just a recall on cars. This costs more than just the door didn't work on an airplane or they had to make an emergency landing. This cost not only people their lives, but think about what it's done to our society. And then fueled the other crisis, which is fentanyl. Think about that. That's the scary thing. And look, they're still rich, right? And the company itself, as Aaron Kotursky points out, is no more when it comes to opioids.
Purdue Pharma is out of the opioids business, and Purdue Pharma really came to exist because of opioids, OxyContin in particular. But now it's out of that game. Members of the Sackler families can have nothing to do with opioids, and it's going to be a board of directors made up of the very same entities that sued Purdue Pharma to decide what the company should do next, but it's going to look a whole lot different than it was.
But they're not going anywhere. The power's too big. Still too much. And they have other things, and they'll just move on. Remember, the greatest sales thing for anybody is addiction. We talked about it a couple weeks ago when it comes to the tobacco industry. They weren't selling tobacco. They were selling addiction. The minute that it became, the jig's up, we can't do this anymore, we got to put all the stuff on it, and they became the pariah of the world, they just moved from there over to the food world. And that's addiction right there. Because they put stuff and chemicals in there to get your brain flipped on. And by the way, that stuff tastes great. Not going to lie to you. I like a Dorito. It's Red Dye 3. But that's what it's all about. Can I sell addiction? What do you think our phones are? They're addiction. They were designed to be that way, to get our Pavlovian response all the time. Click, 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 click. Isn't it scary? No, you don't have it, Bill, but if you've ever, any of you guys listening out there, you go and look on your phone, and like once a week, it'll give you a report of how long you were on your phone.
Yeah, I have it can't track me. I have mine turned off.
So you're like, it can't track me. I don't want to know. Like,
I don't want it to know.
So,
but I do get these little pop-ups from time to time going, you haven't filled in your timeline from last week. I'm like, yeah, I realized that. Thank you.
You haven't done the things we want you to do, sir. But it was designed to be that way. It was designed to be an addiction. It was designed to do that. That's why video games are the way they are. They're designed for a reward system. My uncle, we're going to have him on the show next week, talk about AI. That's what he does for a living. But he was a designer of video games. And World of Warcraft and Diablo, StarCraft, those were his games when he was at Blizzard that he designed and created. And to push the game forward, they went back and decided to put badges in the game. So people who had been playing the game for a long time wanted to go all the way back to the beginning so they could collect stuff because it was a reward system for part of the brain to get you more addicted to collect. That's what these things are designed for. And that's this here. Everything. I want you guys to be addicted to my show, but also be able to take a deep breath every once in a while as well. But you guys get where we're going. You're selling addiction, whatever it is. If you got to sell the sex, you got to sell the rock and roll, you got to sell whatever it is, you're selling that portion of the addiction. And the Sacklers did it better than just about anybody in a very long time. So we went from there to Donald Trump, Davos, speaking to all the leaders today, who, it's funny, everybody's like, are they talking about Donald Trump? AI was the big thing today.
Did you actually watch that?
I watched a bit of it.
I watched some of it too, and it was almost, I was halfway through it, and I'm thinking, why is he standing there being interrogated by these people?
I think they're trying to assert that they're not afraid of him. And it's funny because we'll talk about it a little next hour, but Lex Friedman went and interviewed Zelensky. And if you guys don't know who Lex Friedman is, he is a brilliant guy, like one of those ridiculously big eggheads. I think he's Russian or Ukrainian, and he has a podcast, and he's a scientist, he's a mathematician. He's like one of those people that's got the ridiculous IQ, but he's an academic, and it's like watching if Dracula was to be a professor. But he talked about the reason that things are going to get done, especially in like Ukraine and with Russia and Ukraine, because both Putin and Zelensky kind of scared of him because they don't understand what he's all about. They can't get that read. And there's a fear factor there. And scares, as he puts it, the blank out of them. And that's why he thinks something's going to get done. But some nations, especially in Europe and stuff, they want to assert a little bit of their hey, we're not scared of you. You're not going to come in here and roll over us. You're not going to do stuff that makes us look bad. You're not going to do stuff that goes against whatever it is we want. And he's just kind of like, whatever, he's going to be him. No doubt about that.
On day one, I signed an executive order directing every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and reduce the cost of daily life.
Which is what we want, inflation. And remember, as we go, so goes so much of the world. So goes so much. I mean, I don't think people realize we can drag a vast majority of the world to where it needs to be because of the might and the power of us and our economy. I always remind everybody, when we talk about tariffs, it's one of the things that's on everybody's mind. We built two nations after World War II by telling them, you tariff us this and take that money and rebuild your country. That's how mighty we are. And as inflation goes, we have it lower than a lot of other people, but when we lower it, a lot of the world feels it as well. Big time. All right, coming up, the Oscars were announced today. By the way, tomorrow, we got a big special about movies, and it has nothing to do with the Oscars. It has all to do with the rivals of the Oscars, the Razzies, which are the movies I would watch. Because the one who's nominated the most for this Oscar is the one we make fun of the most on this show. A lot of other stuff to come up as well. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. As we're just talking about, like, opioids and all that kind of stuff, so many people trying to figure out what to do with their back pain. Let me tell you something. The Wellness Institute of Nashville has something for you. In honor of this guy named Trump, how about this? 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression in the Big 47 offer of 2025. All you got to do is call 615-246-5009. It is that simple. Spinal decompression. So the non-surgical, this is what it's all about. They're not giving you injections. They're not putting creams or any of that stuff on you. It's about the decompression machine, and it is incredible the way it works. You go see Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley. They'll take care of you. If you do need surgery, they're going to tell you that. But right now, you can take advantage of the Big 47 deal for 2025 in honor of the 47th president. It is awesome to do, and don't mess around with pain. Get ahead of it. And if you're in pain, let's get rid of it, and let's do it with the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today. Start your new year off right with a pain-free life. Yep, it's absolutely possible. Big 47 going on right now. The Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
We're learning what did not work to help keep students safe at Antioch High School yesterday. And Purdue Pharma and the Sackler families going to fork over a whole lot more money for the opioid litigation. All this and more coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Amelia Perez is the leading nominee for the 97th Annual Academy Awards, announced Thursday in Los Angeles. The Spanish-language musical about a Mexican cartel boss who undergoes gender-affirming surgery received a record-setting 13 nominations, the most ever for a non-English language film. In addition, its star, Carla Sofia Gascon, is up for Best Actress in a leading role, making her the first ever openly transgender Oscar nominee. The Oscars air March 2nd on ABC.
Totally going to win the Oscars. I have never. I joke when, like, because people are like, that's not a real movie. It's a real movie. Somebody looked and said, let's greenlight this. Let's greenlight the cartel member becoming a woman so they can live their authentic life. And, oh, by the way, let's make it a musical. Who's that for? Honestly.
For the people producing it.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. That is not for anybody else. Right? My wife, she likes musicals, right? You know, a lot of women do. And she's I would never in a million years see anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, who's that for? I said, it's for Hollywood. It's for France. It's for New York. It's not for Cedar Rapids. It's not for Nashville, Tennessee. That's who it's for. It's for San Francisco and Seattle. It's for people who are, I would love to see the play. That's who it's for. It is not for the average person. And I'm an average person kind of movie guy. Like, I want to see, I'm getting excited. You know what I'm getting excited about? Here's something, because I love horror movies. Hard Eyes. Have you seen Hard Eyes?
No.
Okay, it's a new Blumhouse horror movie.
Blumhouse. Enough said.
And it is really, I thought it would be like one of those PG-13, like the violence is crazy, but it's about Valentine's Day, and this guy goes around like going after people, but he's got a mask on, and his eyes are like neon hearts. And it's totally crazy violent. And I thought, that's a movie for me right there. That movie cost $3 million, and it's probably going to make $160 million, and it's going to have 4 other ones behind it. This movie has, like, if I was an actor and they came to me, do you want to star in this? No, never, period. Even if I have a chance to win an Oscar, no, because I'm not that kind of actor. 13. Emily Perez, 13. Tomorrow, we're going to do the Razzies. So if you don't know what the Razzies are, it is, I think it's put on by Harvard or Yale, one of the two, where it's...
I want to say it's Yale.
Yeah,
I think it's Yale.
It's the worst movies of the year. So, like, the Joker 2, which also ended up being a musical, which ended up being crap because nobody wants to see a musical.
They want to see the Joker act nuts and kill people.
That's it. I don't want to see him sing and, jump around and dance. And no, that's not, nobody's interested in that.
No.
We save that for Batman.
I'm waiting for like a horror movie musical that's going to be like Jason. Right? Like, oh, yeah, this is Friday the 13th, the musical, which sounds funny, right? Like, if that was an actual musical, like a play,
yeah,
you might go, I go see that. That seems like it would be funny.
Especially if there's like a 6'10" dude with a hockey mask and a machete dancing.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be great.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if he was on stage dancing with a machete and accidentally slicing people as he's spinning around?
It'd be awesome. See, we're sitting here laughing, and that's a musical a guy would go see. We'd totally go see that.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, I'd probably still wait for it to stream, but...
Yeah, but, that's the kind of stuff, like, that's how sophomoric we are is what we're telling you.
Yeah.
All right? We're just giving you a peek into the eyes and the mind of men. Coming up next hour, so much stuff that I can't even talk about it because it's too big. It's a shopping cart of fun and frivolity. If you're missing the show, we say...
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Metro Police say there are a number of unsubstantiated threats to schools today. They've got extra patrols out of an abundance of caution in the wake of yesterday's Antioch High School shooting, particularly Cane Ridge, Glencliff, Hillsborough, McGavock High Schools, where apparently a student was arrested today after a gun was found in a backpack. Meanwhile, Channel 4 says Metro Schools says it had weapons detection technology turned on at the time of yesterday's shooting, but it did not work there at Antioch High School. They say it did not recognize when the gun was pulled, therefore did not notify police or school security within seconds, as its owner, Omni, says it does. And the company and the once prominent family behind the drug OxyContin have agreed to increase their financial contribution by billions of dollars to resolve mass opioid litigation across the nation. New York State Attorney General Letitia James making the announcement today.
Sacklers will personally pay up to $6.5 billion, and an additional $900 million will come from Purdue, the company that they started.
Immigration fight. A President Reagan-appointed federal judge in Seattle has signed a temporary restraining order blocking President Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. U.S. District Judge John Kugenauer's action comes at the request of 4 Democratic-led states, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois. They claim Trump's executive order seeks to reinterpret the 14th Amendment's guarantee of birthright citizenship by arguing a child born in the United States to an undocumented mother cannot receive citizenship unless his or her father is a citizen or green card holder. And shortly after President Trump signed the new executive orders on immigration, the Pentagon has begun deploying 1,500 active duty troops to help secure the southern border. Here in Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee telling WTN's Dan Mandis how he will incentivize local governments to help remove illegal aliens.
We will be working with those locals to determine what they need in order, and by way of training law enforcement officers, operational expenses, purchasing equipment, and that sort of thing. A grant program that if they are ready and willing, then they will receive the grants to make it easier for them to participate. So that's how we will incentivize them, is with grant programs.
There are estimates of at least 128,000 undocumented immigrants living in Tennessee. And this just in, CBS News reporting breaking news. CBS News saying Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski says she will not support Pete Hegseth's nominee as defense secretary. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Oh, baby. A little thunderstruck. The order has been blocked.
The 83-year-old Reagan appointee who heard the initial argument on the president's executive order said in his 4 decades on the bench, he can't recall a more clear case. Judge John Konauer called Trump's order blatantly unconstitutional, and he swiftly issued an injunction to block it. The order is aimed to prohibit the issuance of passports and Social Security numbers to children born to immigrants here illegally or on visas, starting next month.
So, birthright shot down at the first attempt. That was always going to happen. It was never not going to happen. You're not going to get 3/4, of the Senate and the House to agree on anything. So you're not going to be able to change in that direction. And you're not going to have a constitutional convention. It just isn't going to happen. You can change some things, and that's what you have to look at. What can you change in certain situations law-wise that may pertain to this? But as far as the birthright, that just isn't, that was never going to happen. Alan Dershowitz.
The answer seems pretty clear that it's not constitutional. I think the idea that a person born in the United States is automatically a citizen is foolish. I mean, you have somebody who has no connection to the country. His mother was here skiing, and she had an early pregnancy, and the baby was born, and 3 days later was sent back to her country and never came to the United States again. Can run for president. No, can't run for president. You have to have lived here 15 years to run for president. But can be a full and complete citizen. That the only exception to it is the 14th Amendment says all persons born, person was born, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Well, if you're born here, see, here's the thing. Like what he's talking about is somebody's on vacation. I don't know why anybody would be pregnant and skiing, but whatever. You come over here and you're on vacation, and maybe you go into, labor early, and you end up having a child here, but you return back home. Well, I mean, you are an American citizen. I mean, that's it. But you left. That's different than what we've seen, which is what we call the anchor babies. People come over here and they have their children, and those kids are citizens of the United States, and that's that. That's the law we have. When we recognize that's an issue, but the Constitution is pretty clear-cut, and you can change some things pertaining to certain things about, length of stay and stuff like that. Maybe that, if you're a child, if you have a baby here, maybe they change the rule where, for you to be, quote unquote, have the opportunity to come back, the kid has to live here for X amount of years. Otherwise, you have to leave the country. I mean, you could do some of that stuff. But the thought of saying you're not an American citizen, that's just, it ain't going to happen.
And that's where some people say, well, if a person left the country, never had any connection, maybe that person isn't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. I think that would require legislation. So I think the weakest case is the president just announcing it. It may be the right thing to say from a policy point of view.
And that's what it is. Because a lot of this stuff is about policy. It's about shaping a narrative. It's about what can we do to push something out there to get people talking about it. And that's what this is. I mean, this was not going to happen by executive. Because think about this. If he can do an executive order on birthright, so the 14th, if he can go and do that, then what else is the next person, if it's not a Republican but a Democrat, going to try to get away with an executive order? The reason that the Founding Fathers put these things in place the way they did is because fads. Trends. They didn't want it, so the Constitution was swinging from one direction to the next direction. It was extreme after extreme. They wanted to make it as difficult as possible, and that everybody, for the most part, had absolutely agreed on a certain thing. And this was that. We're all in agreement here. This is it. We're all looking around. We're good. We're all in agreement. This is going to happen this way. That's why they made it the way it is.
The second stronger case would be if Congress passed legislation saying a person born in the United States will not be deemed subject to its jurisdiction if he is not in the country for, and then list a bunch of times. But I think the weakest case is just to announce that we're just not going to follow the words of the 14th Amendment. That seems very, very difficult to justify. Obviously, the courts will have the last word on this, and it depends on whether you're a literalist reading the Constitution or more of a functionalist. The rule itself is not a wise rule, but it's in the Constitution.
It's that simple. It's in the Constitution. You may not like it, may not be, as he says, a wise rule. They may not have been thinking about this. What's going to happen in 250 years? What's going to happen here when people want to just come here and have babies and stay? They weren't thinking about that because that wasn't an issue. It is now, and it's fine. Let's address it. Let's address it, though. Once again, the swipe of the pen, you're not a genie. You're not a magician. And you're not a dictator, because the swipe of the pen, eventually, you're not going to be there, and somebody else is. And if that somebody happens to be in a different party that you don't like, and they're able to go and say, constitutionally, I don't like the Second Amendment. Constitutionally, I think we should have special policies on words. Well, then let's remember that if you think you can get away with it, somebody else is going to go, well, we can too. And we don't want that. So how do you approach it? Well, what can we do legislatively that we can get done that is going to say, all right, if you have a kid here, that kid may be a citizen, but you're not. And while that kid may stay, you can't. And for you to apply to be, a person that they sponsor to bring over, they must be 15 years old, 18 years old, and have lived here for X amount of years. All of a sudden, you'd get stuck in a situation where your child may be a U.S. citizen, but for that child to sponsor you, for you to stay, they're going to have to go through years. And that changes a lot of things. It's about how do you work within the system. But a swipe of the pen is not it, and he knows that. He understands that. And I think the reality of bringing it to the forefront, where people talk about it, is great. But that wasn't going to be that way, and he knows it too. He's throwing stuff against the wall on some of these things and seeing what sticks. He knows what is and isn't, but people are talking about it, and that's what he wanted. Speaking of the border, Trump has done it. Sending troops to the, oh my God, yes, he's sending troops to the border.
We've spoken with people across the border in Ciudad Juarez, which basically they say they have one shelter there along the border. There are roughly about 17 to 20 people there, right now. So they're not seeing a ton.
No, because it's, I was watching, I think it was Allie Bradley on News Nation. Love her. And she was talking about how down it is at the border as far as the amount of people. It's just because they recognize. They don't know what to do. They're on the other side. Mexico's putting up tents. They're not quite sure what to do because they've got, okay, these people now, if you come over, you can be repatriated fast. Just boom, back over you go. So what do you do if you're on the other side? Now, it doesn't mean just going to stop you from coming in, and they're starting raids. We saw that in Boston today, and they're small raids. But you're also getting people now that are taking the hint and saying, yeah, this isn't going to work. We're going to have to get out of here. We're going to have to get out of this place because they are serious.
A lot of people here have had to calm the fears of the community and say, listen, we're going to work with the federal government, but at the same time, El Paso is a safe place.
Because that's the big thing, too. They're worried now with the cartels and the way that they're trying to work this is they can get you in anyways. And the worry about what's going to happen on the other side. Is there going to be people panicking? Because we know panic happens, kids. Panic happens all the time. But this is what he said he was going to do, and damn it, he's doing it. And I'm shocked when people go, I can't believe he's doing it. No, exactly what he said he was going to do. And this is nothing new. It's not like we're going out and they're going after people that shouldn't be here. Like Chris and I were talking earlier, that guy from Haiti that they got, and he's telling Trump to F off and Biden forever. Bye-bye. You got to go. You got to go. You got to get out of here. And I've argued with more people on this on the left about the orders to be removed. So there's 1.5 to 1.7, not quite sure what the number is, depending on who you talk to. These are people who have applied for asylum, which you're allowed to do. And under Biden, you were allowed to come here, catch, release. Where in olden days, we'll say like 5 years ago, you had to follow the actual law, which the law states is your first safe harbor, safe place you come from, whatever country you escaped. You left Venezuela because Maduro wants to get you, and you go to Argentina or somewhere like that. You had to stay there. You had to go to the embassy and apply for asylum, and then you have to wait for a hearing. They decide whether or not you're allowed to come. Then you can make your trek up. But we allowed everybody to come here, and then we catch and released them, paroled them into the country. That's insane. Okay, so then what? Well, then you go through hearings. And a vast majority of hearings, you don't get asylum because economic issues are not asylum. Then you go and you have an appeal, and you have another appeal, and then they say you got to leave. Final order to remove. And people are like, we shouldn't allow those people to go. Why? Why? Well, they're not criminals. It's not about that. The rule is this. And they went through a system that everybody says, we got to give them a chance to go through a system. And once they went through the system and it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, you want them to stay. Well, if that's the truth and how you feel, then just say you don't want a system at all. Because why have procedures, systems, a border, if we're going to go, we'll ignore the laws if it doesn't go the way we want? You can't do that. No. Some of those people are self-deporting. I know a lot of people that are here either stayed past their visa, snuck into the country. Some have been here for a while, especially in Long Beach, California. Filipinos are deporting themselves en masse because they want to have a chance of coming back. And if you're caught, there's like a 10-year wait period from there before you can even think about applying again. And that is something that some people don't want to do. They're willing to say, screw it, I'll go back and I'll apply. Good, go back and apply. Do it the right way. And it sucks for some people because if you've ever talked to somebody who's done it legally, how hard it is. And it's the luck of the draw. It might as well be, because in many cases, it's the lottery. You pay a ton of money, lawyers, back and forth and back and forth. It costs a ton of money. Continue to put money out, and you wait and you wait and you wait, and you hope you get a call one day that says, yes, you can come here. It wasn't always like that. We allow 1 million people a year to come into our country legally. Think about that. Nobody else even comes close to that. We allow 1 million people, and I'm not talking about people seeking asylum. I'm talking people who go through the entire thing and then are told, come over here. That is huge. But now with this, the way it is, could we look at maybe allowing a few more? Sure. It's always on the table. And with Trump, you know that. Everything's on the table. Let's talk about it. But first and foremost, fix the border, which is what they're doing. Then simultaneously find out who's here, who shouldn't be here, who has the right to stay while they wait, and get them out. Simple as can be. Hard catching them, probably, but simple as can be as far as these are the plans. Crazy. All right, a lot of stuff. A lot of you chiming in about this. You're mad because, no, this is not what the 14th Amendment says. Constitutionally, guys, he's going to lose. And he knows it. He understands that. He's not a fool. He gets it. The swipe of it. No, that's baloney. It's the reality of it. That's what the Constitution is. No, it's interpreted like this. Trust me, if it even gets to the Supreme Court, because I don't think it is. And remember, the guy that they went with that heard the case today, it's a Reagan, uber-conservative, constitutional originalist who said this is the easiest case he's seen. So getting up to the Supreme Court, if it does, I wouldn't be surprised. If it does, that it's 9-0. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Coming up, a lot of stuff, like I said, to get to, including the craziest thing. Maybe we'll do that next on if you were to go on a cruise and you were sitting there and this came out in droves, what the hell would you be thinking? We'll talk about that straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Rough greens and meow greens. Two things you can give your cat and your dog. And I'm telling you guys, never could you do something so simple as taking a supplement, sprinkling on top of your dog and cat's food, and seeing a change in so many things. Our cat struggled with allergies. No more. No issues. Our dog, our old dog especially, horrific hips and just aches and pains because he was long in the tooth. Guess what? So much better. Lived the best little life for many years because of rough greens. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all of this incredible stuff. It's packed into a supplement that you will absolutely love to give your animals, and it's easy to do. You don't even have to change anything when it comes to your dog or cat. Try a Jumpstart trial bag, whether it's for your cat, meow greens, or for your dog, rough greens. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. It's a $20 value. RUFFgreens.com. Use code CHAD. You pay shipping, they get it out to you free. Roughgreens.com. Use code CHAD.
We're learning more about the Antioch High School shooting. We'll have that and more coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I might stick around for that, actually, Ken.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Brother Chad.
Thank you, brother. Have you guys ever been on a cruise?
I never have.
First of all, it's a petri dish of all kinds of stuff. So I'm telling you guys this. Stay away from the buffets.
Yes.
You can order food and have it brought to you in your room. That's what I always do. And the other thing is, if you go to the right place at the right time of the year, they're awesome. They are fun. I went to Alaska. I've been blessed, man. I've gone all over the world.
I bet you that was beautiful.
And if you're going to go to Alaska, last 2 weeks of August, first week or two of September, the weather is perfect. Tons of animals. That being said, imagine you're on a Christmas cruise. And you're sitting there and, well...
On a P&O cruise liner in December, staff members in dress-up parade across the pool deck to at least some applause. But many are horrified.
Scary and offensive, yeah.
Saying they are a clear resemblance of the white supremacist far-right hate group, the Ku Klux Klan.
That looks very, very like something I've I see it on YouTube.
The company says the parade was part of a Christmas-themed cruise event and they were dressed as upside-down snow cones.
So they come out, and you have to see it. It's everywhere over the last 24 hours. They look like they're all Klansmen. They've got the hood on and everything, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're just snow cones. They're not just snow cones because everybody's on the cruise. You know, they're like, yay, you know, they're announcing them as they walk through. And my entire time I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, nobody that worked at the cruise line thought, hey, maybe not this, right? Maybe this year we punt the Christmas stuff. Maybe we do that. Maybe we grab some tinsel and we wrap it around ourselves, something like that. How about not Klansmen that are snow cones?
Come on. No one can seriously think that was their intention. Our housekeeping crew were dressed as snow cones.
The cruise liner says crew are from different cultures and had never heard of the KKK.
And they were very apologetic. Look, we accept this should not have happened and we take responsibility for it. Our housekeeping crew were so distressed when they realised what their outfits could symbolise.
Yeah. Who doesn't know that? Honestly. I mean, if you're on a cruise line and you're working, and again, like I said, I've been on a cruise line. You kind of get to know some of the people. You're there for a week or so, and sometimes you get assigned certain people that work with you, and one of them was from Lagos, and Nigeria, and the other one's Romanian. Do I expect them to know what the Klan is? Yes, actually. At some point, I would expect them to know, because we're America, and we export so many things, including the fact that in movies, there's the Klan. But somebody had to think this through.
English is their second language. They've obviously misinterpreted.
Most people should know about it. It's common history.
P&O Cruises says the crew live and work at sea, so they weren't able to shop for fancy dress items and had to make do with limited resources. Experts in tackling hate say regardless of the intent, the action still causes harm.
Clearly can elicit strong negative emotions.
Hoping it was not a prank, but a terrible mistake.
Belle, how was your cruise? It was great till the Klan showed up.
Then I just got off the boat.
And they look like stormtroopers, too, just walking through. Just, there we go. Just here we go. Look at us dressed like this. And, yeah, maybe they didn't know. You would have had to have known. How could you know? And I go back to nobody on the cruise who works for the company looked and said, yeah, it's probably not a good look. Let's not do this. Let's just not. So much of what, and I know the intent wasn't there, but come on, do better, people. Do better. Love it when you text us. Some of you are mad at me because of the Constitution. Is that the right way to say it, Bill? They're mad at me because of the Constitution. Like I made it
No,
up.
they're mad at you for not reading it the same way that they do, and for the fact that you allow for the legal process of the courts deciding whether something is constitutional.
And that's what it is. Look, if you guys, you're a stupid idiot, you should go back to England. Well, not from England. Secondly, let it play through the courts. And one person said, we'll tell the Supreme Court what it's all about. Okay. I don't know what that means. But if the Supreme Court comes back and it's 9-0, if it ever gets to the Supreme Court, what then? You could tell every legal scholar they're wrong? It's frustrating. I get it. And let me tell you something, guys. I come from 2 border states. I lived on the actual border. It is frustrating. But I also look at the Constitution and respect it. And let the legal process play its way out. But if it doesn't go your way, that's the legal process. Just throwing it out there. Coming up, a bunch of other, man, we got so many crazy stories and some interesting stories. We can find out more about what happened yesterday in the shooting, what was there, what wasn't there, a bunch of other stuff straight ahead right here. Super Talk 99.7.
.1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And Metro Police adding extra patrols to schools out of an abundance of caution today because there have been what they call unsubstantiated threats online in the wake of yesterday's deadly Antioch High School shooting. The schools are Cane Ridge, Glencliff, Hillsboro, and McGavock High Schools. An 18-year-old student at McGavock High School was arrested last night after school administrators or officials found a gun in his backpack during basketball practice. Channel 4 says it is told by Metro schools the weapon detection system installed at Antioch High School was on but did not catch the gun when it was pulled and then fired yesterday. The company that runs it, Omni, says the technology is supposed to recognize a weapon within seconds and then set off a number of notifications to police and school security. Metro School says that did not happen. To help figure out a motive, Metro Police looking into writings circulating online purported to be from the Antioch High School shooting suspect, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson. There's a photo of him along with writings detailing a desire to hurt other people. The Tennessean says it included a layout of Antioch High School along with photos of the weapons he wanted to use, his thoughts about why he wanted to commit a shooting. Tennessee Star reporting Henderson's manifesto included statements that he was inspired by anti-Semitic political pundits on both sides of the political spectrum. And Metro Police say they have no evidence of a connection between Henderson and the girl he killed, 16-year-old Jocelyn Escalante, or the other two teens who were hurt, including one of them grazed by a bullet. The two school resource officers assigned to Antioch High School were in another part of the building when the gunfire started, according to Metro Police. They rushed the cafeteria and arrived just after Henderson had killed himself. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Love when you guys text. Feel free to do it. Even if it's hate. I always tell everybody, I'm fine with that. Here's my thing. And I've always been this.
Hate listening pays the bills, too.
Yeah, it does. You go back to Howard Stern. And the people who hate him listen longer. Have a conversation. And that's just it. That's what I always talk about is let's have dialogue. Nothing wrong with having conversations and dialogue about stuff. And the birthright thing, it fires people up. Because I look at it this way, you look at it that way. What about this? What about that? Let it play itself out. Let's see what it looks like. Again, you may not like it and the spirit of it or whatever it is, but it's going to play itself out. So far, it was a swing and a miss. It was a swing and a miss. And the judge shot it down and said, no, sorry, this isn't it. But what about, again, what does it look like if it ever gets to the Supreme Court? Remember, the Supreme Court gets, I think it's about 8,000 cases put in front of them. Out of that, they may take 50. And just because Trump asked doesn't mean that they will. Just because Trump says, you guys have to look, it doesn't mean they're going to take the case up. And they may take it up. And they may go, you know what? He's got every right to do this. Boom. Or they may say, sorry, no, that's not the way we do the Constitution. And in some cases, as you guys know, especially with Judge Roberts, he's a person who likes to protect the court. Meaning he doesn't like to go back and change things that were present. It was said in the past, he's not going to go back and change things. And the original case was back, I think, in 1892. Chinese family was here, and they had a kid here. And they were here as servants. And there was a fight to see if this child was an American citizen, was born here. And they ruled yes. So, will they look at it? Again, I have no idea if they will look at it at all. But the frustration that a lot of you feel, some of you said, well, we'll do this to the Supreme Court. You're not going to do anything. There's nothing to do. The beauty of our Constitution, we have things in place that give people the opportunity to have their voice heard. And that is the great thing about our nation. That's what separates us in so many ways. We have 3 co-equal branches of the government. And we have that Constitution that holds this all together. That is the glue to our nation. It's absolutely the glue to our nation. And I tell everybody, I can get frustrated too. You look and think, oh my gosh, how can that couldn't be what they meant. Could it be what they meant? They're not here. And that's just it. They're not here to go, what'd you mean? We don't have a time machine, right? Wouldn't we like a time machine to go back to our founding fathers? Hey, what do you mean about this? What do you mean about, the Second Amendment? What do you mean about, everybody would like that. But we don't. So we go with, you've got people out there who look at this, the Constitution as living, breathing, expanding kind of really, idea. And on the other side, you've got the originalists who say, no, this is exactly what it means. And we follow that.
If the Constitution means whatever you need it to mean at any given moment, then it means nothing.
Exactly. And the thing is, the Constitution is there to protect the rights of us, guarantee us, to protect us from the government overstepping and doing things. And if you're going to try, and this is, like I said earlier, the reason they set it up the way they set it up, our founding fathers, they wanted to make it difficult because they recognized even back in their day, before TikTok, fads come and go. And if you follow a fad and you can watch what happens, and the swings can go from one direction to the other. And we don't want to live in a world of, I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a world of extremes where 1 minute we're crazy liberal loonies and then the next minute it swings back over and we go so conservative. We want to live in a world of as much certainty as we can get and stability. That's what we want to live in. And they set it up that way so the extremes couldn't dominate in such a way that the swings would be so much. You see that in other countries. In other countries, I mean, how many times do we, that's why I think the Javier Milei thing is so amazing, because South America is outside of the Looney Maduro, the bus driver. They seem to switch people all the time. Guy's been there for an hour. Nothing has changed. So we get rid of him. Next person comes in, promises the world. Nothing has changed. We'll get rid of them. That's why I'm pleasantly surprised on how much support Milei has, which is people are still there because they see stuff happening and they're willing to allow it to happen, which is great. But we don't want to live in the world of extremes. Donald Trump spoke to our good buddies in Davos. And let's just say he did what he does.
Our country will soon be stronger, wealthier, and more united than ever before. And the entire planet will be more peaceful and prosperous as a result of this incredible momentum and what we're doing and going to do.
And we're going to do some amazing things. Our economy, like I said earlier, our economy is so freaking strong. And tariffs, people are worried about tariffs. Jamie Dimon runs the biggest bank, financial institution, came out and said, everybody needs to settle down about tariffs. They're a tool. Everything is a tool for negotiation. Whether we're trying to put pressure on the likes of Mexico to keep people there or deny them from even getting into the country on their way here, and if we have to use tariffs that way. And on the other side, whether it is in Russia, where he said, if you're not going to do this, if you're not going to get behind this, if you're not going to really actively figure this out, Putin, I'm going to tariff you in ways you haven't seen, and I'm going to tax everything you guys can get your hands on and make it so it's a nightmare. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. Everything is a negotiation. Same thing goes with China. They understand that. They absolutely understand it. This is just a negotiation. Doesn't mean we may not feel some of it, but if the end game is to be in a better position long term, let's do it. Let's do it. If that's the end game. Because this is about setting up tomorrow. It's not about today. And for some people, it's understandable. If you're living at that line, and a lot of people are, right? A lot of people are living at that line where it's like, what am I going to, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now they're both dead. I mean, I don't know what to do. It's tough to say that. It's easy for you to say. No, it's tough. It's tough all around. But is the end game going to be not only respect, again, and a little bit of fear, and nothing wrong with that, but also getting stuff done in a way where we're more competitive in certain things, especially with exports? That's a win. It's absolutely a win. Speaking of the Donald, angering people all day, because yes, kids, the DEI revolution in the federal government is dead.
It's unfortunate that a lot of the decisions, including this one that Donald Trump did on day one, don't do anything to address real issues that Americans are facing.
He's addressing every issue that he possibly can. I mean, he's come in and done a ton. I think a lot of people, I'm surprised, but he's go, go, go. But getting rid of DEI isn't a bad thing. And, it's funny. They're like, well, he's told everybody not to return to work. They weren't going to work anyways. They weren't. They were home doing whatever weird thing they were doing. So my 6-year-old the other day, she says, because I try not to talk about stuff like this in front of her, just like my wife asked me a question about like DEI, and I said, her name's Charlie. And she says, what's DEI? And, explaining it to a 6-year-old is kind of it's like, okay. I said, well, you know what diversity is, Charlie. I said, we go to church. I said, you've got friends who are black, and you have friends that are boys, and you have friends that are this. And I said, that all of you are different, but you're the same. And she's like, okay. She goes, and I said, and I said, inclusion is, if you guys all want to play a game, you invite everybody to play the game. She said, okay. I said, equity, the E word. I said, that's silly. I said, that means when you guys play a game, let's say you win, Charlie. You don't win, everybody else wins. And she's all, that's silly. Because she's very competitive, by the way.
Your children are competitive?
You know what? My son is...
Sir, you are lying to us now.
Yeah, he is super competitive, but she is the kind of competitive that I'm like, oh, this is going to end bad. This is the kind of competitive where if you get a participation trophy, she throws it at you. Because it ain't that one over there.
Good for her.
Absolutely. She's like, Dad, what's illegal immigration? I said, all right. Dora.
Oh, this is already perfect.
She thinks she can go anywhere she wants, and she can't. We have rules. So she can't come across the, and she's like looking at me going, oh, like, and I'm like, I don't want her to get caught up in the wacky stuff. She just thinks I talk on a microphone, and she knows I do a lot of voices and stuff like that. And because that's what she loves doing. She has tons, her British accent's amazing. But, the Dora thing, my wife laughs so hard. She's like, oh, God. Teaching them young, which is a beautiful thing. But I just, I was like, it's amazing that the push for DEI you want to talk about something we've exported? This insanity we've exported. Bell was listening to the British today talking about their insane new stuff they got going on.
I was?
Yeah, when I was playing the thing, you were like looking over you, what's that? I'm like, the British, so we get rid of our DEI.
Yes.
And Trump's like, there's only two genders. People freak out. They're asking people, is it safe to say that a woman has a cervix? Not always. And you can build one.
Like, that's actually, it was so ridiculous to just sit there and listen to it. You're dumbfounded as to how anybody could take it seriously.
And most of them don't. Most of them don't. And as I try to tell people, like, even for the DEI stuff, don't think of it as some sort of, it is a woke push, but in reality, much like everything else, it's a business. That's all it is a business. Pushing insanity on people is a business. Separating us and having us fight on the internet has become a business. That's what these things are. They're businesses. Why? Well, you're going to pay me $50,000 to bring my slideshow to your thing and show you guys how to be diverse and equity and inclusion and all this kind of wacky stuff. It's a business. It's a horrible business, but it's a business. Same thing goes for, climate change. Climate change, really? Is it science? No, it's a business. That's what it is. Al Gore's worth how much money? He's not doing it for free. He's not like, I'm donating every penny I got because we're saving the planet. It's a business. All of these things are a business. And business was booming until Monday. Now business went, think of it this way. If DEI was the oil business, it's gone from $75 down to a nickel right now. So you know what that means? We're not drilling at this moment in time. Oh, my Lord. A lot of stuff to get to. I got some fun stuff. Got some wacky stuff. I like wacky stuff, by the way, if you guys know that. Tomorrow, the Razzies. I'm telling you guys. Some of you were talking about the Razzies. You know what the Razzies, because the Oscar nominations came out there. The Razzies are the exact opposite. They're the worst. And so many of you chimed in on The Joker 2, Craven, The Crow, which are all movies. I wouldn't see The Joker 2 because it was musical. But The Craven and The Crow, I've already bought them. I haven't watched them yet.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You actually bought Craven the Hunter?
Yeah, you know why? Because I love the comic book.
I have some mud and dirt and grass I want to sell you after the show's over.
You know what? Shame on you, Belle. Shame on you. I can't help they screwed up the comic book. Prize Picks. Somebody sent me a picture earlier. He goes, thanks, Chad. Prize Picks, awesome. So it's everything. It's gambling. No. Think of it this way. It's fantasy. Like fantasy sports. You're picking a player. And let's say it's Patrick Mahomes. Do you think he'll throw for over 1.5 touchdowns or under? You're setting your lineup. You think, I think he's going to throw over. Let's go over here. You've got, the likes of Allen. Do you think he's going to throw for over 250 yards or under? You're like, under. Okay, fine. There you go. You've set your lineup now. So when you go to Prize Picks, don't think of it like I'm betting this. It's a different kind of thing. Every time you play a $5, at first when you sign up and use my code Chad, you pay a $5 lineup, right? So you play it. I think they're going to give you 50 extra bucks right there just to play. It is so awesome and easy to do, and it's fun. And it's simple. You don't have to know a ton of things about sports. It's about individuals, and a lot of people know that. My wife loves it. Your wife will probably love it too. The next thing you know, she starts winning, and hey, it's good for everybody. Download the app today. Play your first $5 lineup and get $50 immediately. Use code Chad. Go to Prize Picks, download the app, use code Chad. $50 right there the minute you play it. Prize Picks, run your game. see that Murkowski's going to vote against Hegseth. That's not a surprise. They're coming after him hard.
She needs to stick to worrying about renaming Mount Rainier.
It's a good. What would you name it?
Mount Rainier.
You'd rename
She
it
had
that?
a big issue with the fact that Trump wanted to do that, and was like, "This name needs to be returned to the native Alaskans." Really, is that that's what's important to us?
Yeah, no, that's the silly stuff. It's like when you go to those things, we'd like to recognize all the people that are here before, and they start naming off stuff. Whenever they do that, I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, because of, no, why? Like, are we giving it back to them? Are you apologizing? Do you even know anybody that is from that tribe? Are they here to apologize? Are you selling drinks and snacks to give to them? Or are you just virtue signaling? Well, I'm just virtue. Well, there you go then. There's no reason to do it. And by the way, the left, the crazy left, you guys do that stuff. The average person who's a Democrat, they also think you're crazy. They totally do. We would like to acknowledge. Who? Who are you going to acknowledge? Tell me. What about the people that walked across the strait? What about them? Do you know who they were? Are we going to acknowledge them? Tim. We'd like to acknowledge Tim from way back in the day. What about the dinosaurs? I'm excited about the woolly mammoth. Super excited. You know, my fear is with the woolly mammoth, they'll bring it back and it's going to have some weird disease that'll wipe everybody out.
That, or they bring it back and decide that we need to start eating mammoth steaks.
That's that right there. It's going to be like the Flintstones, right?
Yeah,
Remember
exactly
they
like
throw there,
the Flintstones.
and they're going to tip
you pull,
over.
You pull up, they slam the big side of ribs on your car and tip it over.
Oh, man. I wonder what that tastes like. I wonder what dinosaur tastes like.
Well, no, this wouldn't actually be dinosaur. This would just be megafauna, so it's got to have...
but still, I mean, we think of it as a dinosaur.
I would assume it's going to have some kind of a taste similar to elephant, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and when's the last time you ate an elephant?
Oh, I do that all the time, one bite at a time.
One bite at a time. We worked it out. What did we say? It was 2,700 days to eat an elephant?
Something like that. It was a lot longer than I would have thought.
Yeah. I wonder what our friends that were here yesterday, Randy and Katina.
Oh, Randy and Katina could have that done in probably 100 days.
Ooh, goodness me. Put on a lot. They're high in cholesterol. That's all I'm saying. Coming up, third hour of the big program. So much stuff to get to. We're going to talk a little bit about Russia and Ukraine because I think it's worth talking about. Some fun, weird stuff as well, including what is toasted skin. Yeah, wait till you hear this. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Bell was telling me they tried to filibuster the old Pete Hegseth there, and apparently the Democrats didn't have what it needed. We're trying to do some of this stuff. Lisa Murkowski's a no on Pete. You know, several of you hit up like, what's going on with these people? Are they delaying some? Of course, they're going to do. It's delay. The tactics both sides use when they have the opportunity. You delay. Do what you possibly can. Like Rubio got through, I think it was 100-0.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, come on. When is the last time that happened that we heard of somebody? I'm sure there's some secretary of corn growing that got through 100, 100 through. But when's the last time a prominent cabinet position, there wasn't a fight that was so ridiculous that we can remember? No, you can't.
It's like Rubio got through 100-0, and we were just talking about Hegseth, the Republicans having to fight off a filibuster to try to get him through.
And, this is what I think about Pete. If you're that, if you think that it's going to be that close, and Mitch McConnell he's in the game now, which is what they were hoping for. But if you're in that position where you think it is, and you need to reassure a few of these people, then do whatever you need to do to reassure them. And if it's, because I'm waiting for them to bring somebody. The other day was like the sister-in-law, the former sister-in-law of an ex-wife said that he did this. And people are like, oh. The wife said he never did that. That's a lie. But he did, according to her. But the person he supposedly did it to said no. What do you believe? Well, he's got a drinking problem. Does he have a drinking problem, or did he have a drinking problem? That's a fair question right there. Did he have? Because if he had, and he doesn't, bring the evidence, as the kids would say, bring the receipts, not stuff that you've been told allegedly or anonymous sources or one person says. Bring it. It's the beauty of our country. You have the right to face your accuser. So let's hear it. And if it's because, according to all of the people that you've talked to, and you've actually talked to them, you haven't just read something or I heard, right, the telephone game, then let's hear it and bring it. Because if not, then what are we doing? I think the only one that, I still think Pete will get through. I think Tulsi, that might be a little bit tougher. That might be. I think most of them are going to get through. I like Tulsi, though.
I'm still waiting for Christie to get nominated for dog catcher.
Be a slow dog.
Very. He probably, please lock me up. Just don't shoot me.
I'm just going to move a little bit faster than you. I don't want you to die of a heart attack. That's not very nice, Chet. That's not. Earlier today, Trump's first setback.
The hearing didn't even take half an hour. Judge John Kuhnauer said in his 4 decades on the bench he'd never seen such a clear case. The Reagan appointee called President Trump's order blatantly unconstitutional and said it, quote, boggles my mind that any lawyer would unequivocally assert otherwise. Trump's order aims to block the issuance of passports and Social Security numbers to children born to women here illegally or on temporary visas unless the father is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder.
It's got to be the father, too. And people are sending me stuff saying, well, Chris says this. Yes, the stuff that Chris talked about is ambassadors. So if you're an ambassador to, you're ambassador to the nation of Greece, right? That doesn't count. It's the way they set that up a long time ago. It doesn't count that way. And I know plenty of you are frustrated. Somebody just said we should let the people vote on whether or not that, we should change the 14th Amendment. No.
That's precisely why the founders set us up as a indirect democracy or a representative republic.
Democracies fail.
Democracy is mob rule.
Yes. Yeah. The thing about your democratic republic, a representative republic, is the minority is not destroyed by the majority. Because the minute you start to vote for your best interest, then it'll eventually collapse because we become Rome, where everybody just wants circuses, free food, all the stuff you can. I mean, it's going to be an absolute nightmare, and then it fails. It fails. So no. And by the way, I've met a lot of people, and I'm not happy they vote, period. Let alone on something like that. And let's not forget, the representative is, you have a person that you vote for that represents your voice in theory, and the voice of others that may even not voted for them in that district or that state, and then they go and they are, in theory, your voice. But no, there's no way. There's no way that should happen. Putting that out there. Earlier today, raids are happening. And the Battle of the Sanctuary Cities is about to get underway. And sanctuary states, because California is what California is. And one city in California has already said, Surf City, baby.
Huntington Beach declaring itself as a non-sanctuary city Tuesday after a unanimous vote by the city council in favor of the proposal introduced by Mayor Pat Burns. The designation subverts a state law known as the California Values Act, or SB 54, which limits local authorities' ability to cooperate with federal immigration officials. The state law does have exceptions for violent crimes, sex abuse, and felonies. As Straight Arrow News previously reported, Huntington Beach is currently challenging SB 54 for the second time since 2018 in a lawsuit filed earlier this month.
And they've been this way. So Huntington Beach in California is like one of the enclaves. Surf City, right? It's the place famous for the surf and the sand. That's why they call it Surf City. This is where everybody in the world who surfs, you go to HB. Like, this is the place. And it's kind of like, it's behind the orange curtain, which is what they used to call it, which is Orange County is kind of a conservative pocket. And this place is uber conservative in a lot of ways. And they're a no-go for a lot of this stuff, which is great because we need to see more of that. But there will be people, and I'm talking about city council people, I am talking about probably, sheriffs in certain areas, mayors, whatever, that are going to try to get out there and virtue signal when it comes to protecting people that are here illegally. And we need to figure out, okay, what are we talking about? If it's somebody who is a killer, a rapist, and you want to protect them, I think we all have a serious issue. If it's somebody that, they always want to make it seem like the only person that Trump is ever talking about is the lady down the street, right? Who makes the tortillas. She cleans the houses. The lady down the street who and her husband, they had a kid here, and he's got a little business, and that's the person they're all going after. No, it's the low-hanging fruit right now. It's the people that have the order to be removed. But this weird thing of we're going to die on this hill, which is, even if you're in jail and you've done something, we're going to say, no, we're not going to let you get near them.
The city argues the California Values Act violates the U.S. Constitution by restricting local law enforcement's cooperation with ICE agents. Mayor Burns told California's KABC News, under the freshly passed resolution, local police will be able to follow federal immigration rules issued by the Trump administration.
We need every law enforcement effort whenever called upon, whether it be fighting terrorists, whether it be fighting purse snatchers, or whatever it is. We have to have every law enforcement tool to best serve our citizens.
It seems pretty cut and dry. You would think in this country. And it's not cut and dry because everybody's got their own thing. Well, the feds aren't going to do this in the state. Look, I'm a big states' rights guy, and I think the states are going to win several of these challenges. And there's a difference between cooperating. So if they call and they say, you've got so-and-so, he's got orders to be removed, and he's in there on a drunk driving case, can you hold him for us? And you look and you go, all right, that's fine. As opposed to they called you. Is this fear? It's like, oh my God, everybody's going to get a phone call from so-and-so. Again, it's the hair on fire insanity that the left throws out there that this is all that's going to happen from now on. You go out there and you got your net. You're going to be just catching people and making that phone call. Guess what? I caught a brown one today. You're going to want to come pick it up. Like, that's so freaking insane. It's not that way. But I think the first one I think Chicago or San Diego is going to make that first attempt to be the people that fight the good fight. One of those two. And somebody will raise their profile and they'll be seen as a martyr over this. If you're in jail and you're accused and have been charged with something and you have orders to be removed and you're not even here on asylum, hell yes, you should go. 100%. And this weird thought process, like, we should protect. Why is it, why is it that you want to protect people who have broken the law to get here and maybe have broken the law while they're here? And your whole idea is we must protect them, because if we don't protect them, we're not going to protect anybody else. And you should want to make everybody else, if you're that serious, the people you protect.
Well, let's also forget they really, really want those votes.
Yeah, votes they're never going to get. Never going to get. This isn't going to happen.
As soon as all of the fluff over who's in the country and who isn't settles down, once we allow all these illegals to stay, the Democrats' next move is to be, okay, now we got to get them voting rights.
Yeah, but what they're missing out on, and in particular, like the Latino community. So my grandfather was born and raised in Mexico, came here legally. If you saw my uncle and I stand next to each other, you'd be like, there's no way you guys are related. And we laugh about it all the time because he used to tell us Latinx is not a real thing. That's a fake thing that white people made up to try to have some woke BS. You don't think we care about the border. My grandfather would be like, I'll help build the border. Well, what do I got to do? Right? This is what it is.
How long did it take him to be able to legally immigrate?
You know what? So he came here in the 50s and maybe the early 60s, but he didn't become a citizen. He was here with a green card, the whole 9 yards. He didn't become a citizen until like the 90s. Took him a long time. Yeah, it took him a long time. So
that's a crazy long time.
It was a crazy long time. It was absolutely a crazy long time. But he lived for America. It was everything to him. It was, and he was as American, he would let my uncle and I learn Spanish, which looking back at the time was stupid because it would have been a good thing to learn. But he wouldn't let us learn Spanish because he wanted us, the whole family, to be as American as possible. That's what he wanted us. He was apple pie. He was the biggest Doyer fans in the world. I love the Doyers. Like, you should say that to me all the time.
Loves the what?
The Doyers. That's the Dodgers.
Oh, the Dodgers.
Yeah,
gotcha.
The Doyers. He was like, oh, shit, I'm watching the Doyers tonight. We should watch the Doyers together. I'm like, okay, Grandpa. He used to call, his name was Jesus. He used to call me Shad. Hey, Shad. Yes, Grandpa. He was uber conservative. American flag waving, Cadillac driving, loved everything about America, but did it right. And understood why people came here, but didn't want that. And the other thing is, which is what the Democrats miss out on, Latinx BS, border important, and a lot of people, especially the Latino community, are pretty socially conservative. They're not super big on abortion, and when you tell them that, hey, that person over there has a penis, but she's a she, he's a she, they don't buy that, and they think you guys are full of it. And they also don't buy the pandering, which is something else that a lot of people on the left easily are fooled into. Oh, my Lord. We'll talk a little bit more about, I got some fun stuff coming up here and some wacky stuff. We're going to talk about toasted skin syndrome. And it matters because of how cold it's been. And you know what? It happened to my legs. And it was really weird. That's straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. What's going on in the market? how do you protect yourself from inflationary things? Let's say the market, boom, it pops. Everything's, oh, my goodness, things are going sideways. If you're not positioned right, man, that could just go bad. Dollar's weak, lots of debt. Gold. There's gold. Birch gold. Birch is awesome. They want to show you why gold's important, even to have some as a protection against crazy inflation and the volatility of the world. So what they want you to do is reach out to them. Simple and easy. You just type Benson into your phone, then text 989898. They're going to send you out the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. It's a forward done by Don Jr. Top of that, they're going to get you an investor kit. Show you why it's smart to have some gold, because it is. And it's an amazing thing. People have had it through, I don't know, the centuries. And there's a reason for that. As a protection, as a hedge for what's going on. So why don't you do this? Get the free investor kit. Get the free ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. Text the word Benson, Benson, to 989898 today. They'll get you out all those things. No high-pressure sales. It's simple and easy with Birch. Check it out now. Text Benson to 989898 for Birch Gold.
All right, drivers, we've got a crash eastbound 40 at Fessler's Lane. It is blocking the left lane, and it is backing up the eastbound east leg and eastbound south leg of the downtown loop. Pete Hegseth's nomination to Defense Secretary just cleared a key hurdle. We'll tell you about that and more stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got over the hurdle. Go, Pete. Somebody said, who cares if Pete has a drinking problem? Winston Churchill and Pete. God bless Pete. I wish him all the best. He's not Winston Churchill. He's not as clever as Winston either. But if he had a drinking problem one time, I mean, we're a nation of second chances, for God's sakes. Isn't that what we are? A nation of second chances?
I've needed a few.
I might need a lot more. You don't know. But that's the reality of it. We're a nation of second chances. We give second chances. Even John Fetterman talking about the January 6th people. He's like, you know what? I thought a lot of those people, they absolutely deserve second chances. They do. They totally deserve second chances. People deserve second chances. That's life. So if it's because you think he's going to get drunk on the job, I have news for you. People need to stop thinking that, and I tell this to a lot of people on the left out there, because I'll go on a ton of left-leaning shows because I have no fear. I'll do it. I will tell people, you all think that because Trump is the head of the party, he's the president of the United States, that everybody is in awe of him and bows down to him. When push comes to shove, if Pete had a horrific drinking problem that was real and he beat women, to think that Republicans wouldn't stand up for that, if that was true, then, I mean, that's just, to me, that's mind-boggling that you would actually think, no, they wouldn't do that. No, they would. Because they're Americans first, and they would realize this isn't the place for him. That's what they would do. But we don't live in this world anymore. I mean, outside of Rubio, it was 99-0, I was just told. Because, hey, got to make sure they're right.
So somebody abstained?
Probably, yeah. It's like that, it's like...
Or they just weren't there to vote.
Weren't there to vote, I mean, or just weren't paying attention or whatever. They were on the other side, just, having a drink and, knowing it was going to get through. It's like, I don't have to be there. It's not a big deal. Have you suffered from this?
It's the little-known medical condition triggering red flags during this brutal deep freeze. Toasted skin syndrome.
This is how it looks at all times. And apparently this is called toasted skin syndrome.
My skin is literally cooked. I cooked my skin.
The syndrome is caused by prolonged exposure to a low-level heat source, like a space heater or heating pad.
And I thought, I saw this the other day because it's so cold. So it's freezing in our apartment. For whatever reason, it's always freezing. So we have hardwood floors, which don't do well with the heat. And in my office, because I'm up at like 2 or 3 getting ready for my national show. So I have a little one of these heaters we've had on for a while. And I noticed my legs were becoming like, it was so bizarre because it's pointed right at my legs. And sure enough, I was like looking and I'm going, what is going on with my legs? Like you start to panic. You're like, oh my God, am I poisoned?
Sarah Maxwell got it, and she's a skincare professional.
I put a little space heater to my left side while I was doing facials. And over the span of a month or two, I noticed this strange rash developing on my leg, and it all clicked. And that's when I started to learn about toasted skin syndrome. My whole life is skincare, and I'd never heard of it.
How far was your space heater from you?
Probably like 3 feet.
Sarah posted video of her rash.
It almost looks like a laced pattern of pigment. It doesn't even feel raised or itchy or anything like a normal rash.
Now, it can for some people, because I worried a bit about it, because at first I had no idea, I'd never even heard of this. And I was like, what the hell is going on here with my legs? Because I'm a leg guy. I got news for you. I mean, all the years of soccer, my legs are still, and they're going to find out soon. I almost wore shorts today. I was like, it's warm enough. I might wear it. I might wear my octopus shorts. Nothing. Everything is right with me.
Medically, it's known as erythema ab igni, which just means skin on fire, basically.
Dermatologist Dr. Rosemarie Ingleton.
Typically, it resolves on its own. People will eventually, they don't even come to present to a doctor for it. They figure it out. They realize that the problem is occurring where they had the heat.
There's good reason to be aware of toasted skin syndrome. It's estimated that the polar vortex from Siberia we're enduring right now could affect some 300 million Americans. That's 90% of the population. Even southern cities like New Orleans are getting snow. So stay warm, but be careful about toasted skin syndrome.
And if it starts to itch and get nasty, that's when you go see a doctor. But it looks weird, so don't panic and think you were been poisoned by something like I did. I thought, it's running up my leg, it's coming to my heart. I know it is.
It's a tumor.
It's not the tumor. It's probably I don't know. But I'm like, what the heck's going on? And you know what's weird, too? My leg was hot. That was the other thing that scared me. Because my leg was warm, but it was a little bit itchy, but it was warm. But it looked like almost flames. It was so weird. I was freaking out. But then I started to realize, wait a minute here. What the hell's going on?
Now I'm going to dream about this.
You are.
I'm going to have a dream about this.
Don't dream about this. Dream about a lot of things.
Well,
but
it'll be a nightmare.
go look at some of the stuff, though, it does to people's skins. It's a trip. Toasted skin syndrome, everybody. We keep you abreast of all that stuff. Did you see New Orleans, by the way, the snow?
Yeah.
Did you see the people skating on the canal?
Yeah.
It's insane.
That is.
This is it. Trump comes in. He's there just a few days. Next thing you know, hell is frozen over. Chad. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, the shooting in Antioch. A bunch of other stuff. Matt's going to be here, and I'm going to ask Matt, because yesterday they had a big conversation, Cameron and him, about raccoons, and I think we need to have more of that. We need more raccoon talk here. Super Talk 99.7.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Trump cabinet confirmations update. Pete Hegseth's defense secretary nomination just cleared a key hurdle in the U.S. Senate, setting up a final confirmation vote for the end of the week. Meanwhile, John Ratcliffe has been confirmed as CIA director. And at the first court hearing challenging President Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship, a judge quickly blocked that order. Here's Alex Stone.
It took mere minutes for the federal judge in Seattle, who was appointed by Ronald Reagan, to temporarily block President Trump's executive order limiting birthright citizenship, saying it appears to violate the 14th Amendment, which says that somebody born in the U.S. is a citizen. The judge slammed the president's order, saying it is blatantly unconstitutional, and asked where lawyers were when President Trump's executive order was being written. The judge saying he has never seen something so unconstitutional come before him. He's now blocking the executive order. Other challenges to the order are moving forward as well.
Metro Police say there are a number of unsubstantiated threats to schools, and they have extra patrols out of an abundance of caution in the wake of yesterday's Antioch High School shooting, particularly Cane Ridge, Glencliff, Hillsborough, McGavock High Schools. By the way, an 18-year-old student at McGavock High School was arrested last night after officials found a gun in his backpack while kids were playing basketball after school in the gym. Meanwhile, Channel 4 says Metro School says it had weapons detection technology turned on at the time of yesterday's shooting, but it didn't work like it is supposed to. They say it didn't recognize when the gun was pulled and did not notify police or school security, as its owner, Omni, says it does. That might answer at least some of the questions state lawmakers have, including House Education Subcommittee Chair Scott Sapicki, who tells WTN's Dan Mandis there's a mental health component that needs to be addressed.
These individuals, they have crossed a line mentally that they are willing to shoot another individual, and we've got to try to get them as much help as we can ahead of time, and being able to look for the signals and get people trained to look for the signals of someone who's in distress.
Sapicki says the General Assembly will look into whether or not $200 million for mental health for Tennesseans, including students, is being used by school districts for social workers and crisis intervention teams when a student or individual is identified as being in crisis. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
United Structural Systems. We had the great thaw out here. Some of you, even before that, you've got a little crack here. Maybe your foundation's not great. There's a chance that you could send water somewhere. Oh, my goodness me, you're not paying attention the way you should. But you're thinking, it's going to be okay. And then what happens? Yeah, it's mold, wood rot. It's a nightmare. Something that should be an easy fix becomes a nightmare for you. That's why you're going to call United Structural Systems. They're going to come out. Absolutely free inspection. They're not going to sell you anything crazy, like you need to do this, we need to tear all this. It's not about that. It's about getting you right the first time, and that's what they do. Call 615-488-7855. Go there. Just call them. Say, hey, man, come on out. Take a look, right? Like, we think we've got this, because you may have nothing. But it's better to be safe than sorry. And United Structural Systems has been here for 30 years. They know what they're doing. They are the professionals. They're the best, and they guarantee the best. Call them today, 615-488-7855, or visit them online at ussTN.com. MyPillow. Let me tell you something about MyPillow. They've got great deep discounts, and I do mean deep discounts on everything. And check out the new waffle blanket. It's awesome. They've got the new MyPillow quilt, which is great because it's got tons of colors. If you're looking for something stylish that matches your decor, it's great. But that's soft. It sleeps really comfortably in that waffle blanket. Woo! But what about the classic MyPillow? $14.88 right now. Everything made in America. That's what you got to love, baby. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. They've got the slippers, the sandals. They've got all these amazing things at the deepest discounts they've had them for quite a while. Now is the time to take advantage of them. How do you do it? You go to mypillow.com/Benson. Take advantage of the classic MyPillow. Take advantage of the new waffle blanket. Don't eat it, as I like to say. The quilt, all of these things right now, plus the slippers and sandals. I think they're $25. Grab those right now. Go to mypillow.com/Benson to save big. mypillow.com/Benson. So yesterday, they had a gun detector. And what do you think the gun detectors should do? I'm going to ask Bell. Bell, if there was a gun detector, what's the one thing the gun detector is supposed to do?
See what kind of lunch you brought.
Exactly. Or detect a gun, which it didn't.
Based on this one.
You only got, you had one job, Jim. You had one job. You had one job. You screwed up.
Based on the shooter's location in proximity to the cameras, and it wasn't close enough to get an accurate read and to activate that alarm. The system was activated by police when they brandished their weapons, so there's no foolproof solutions for any of this.
There we go. The police they show up. Oh, we see that, right? We see that. The one who did the damage. Not so much. The 17-year-old, again, I don't use his name. I don't do that with killers. Want to go out with a blaze of glory. Was, first of all, hated being black. Chris and I were talking about that earlier. I mean, when's the last time you saw a black white supremacist? I mean, I know the left always thinks anybody who's conservative is a black white supremacist, but this kid was, are you kidding me? More is coming out. Hitler was apparently a big inspiration for him. Hated being black. Mental problems you can read in some of these things. The kid had serious issues mentally. And you know what's not going to pick that up? a camera. You know who should have picked that up? People that are around him a lot. Not somebody around him for 30 minutes in the classroom that says hi. But people that are with him. And that's what I want to know. Still don't know much about the parents, grandparents. I still don't know anything, the gun, all that stuff I'm sure will come out at some point in time. But the thought of well, if they would have had this or would have had that, you want to prevent stuff like this, which you're never going to do the way that we want zero. Everybody wants zero. Zero is not going to happen because we don't live in a perfect utopian society. This is never going to happen. And as long as people have free will and opportunity and anger and depression and mental illness, things like this will happen. That being said, can we prevent more? Not by figuring out how we react to it as it's happening or putting up guards here or metal detectors there. It happens years and months before with people around them. That's when it happens. And every one of us, by the way, I could ask these guys here. Everybody's worked with a person where you thought, I'm going to be nice to him because he scares me as a just-in-case thing.
It's radio, dude.
Well, it is radio. We got a lot of weird people. I worked in the financial industry with a guy, and they used to be so horrific to him. And I used to tell him all the time, hey, Gary, I think they're wrong for that. And I used to tell him, remember, dude, when everything goes down, I was nice to you. He wasn't, but if it happened, you wouldn't be shocked. Same thing, with kids and stuff. Yes, every once in a while, you're going to find somebody who, I don't want to say slips through the cracks. It just, there was no signs of it. But for many of these, the crumbs are there. The pathway to what is happening. You start looking back going, oh, yeah. Oh, and then there was that. Oh, what about that? Oh, yeah, now I see it. And that's when it has to happen. Because yesterday morning is too late. The only way that's going to happen is by putting him down or arresting him if you could before he did anything. But it's about getting to them sooner. And that's parents. Yes, teachers, but people who spend time with them. Coaches. That's how you prevent some of these. But there will always be some that get by. And there's nothing we can do as human beings, unfortunately, to stop it. We would love to. Because I'm a big Second Amendment guy, and the last thing and anybody wants to just go out and have to go defend the reason why you support the Second Amendment and the freedoms, because they think somehow because somebody did something horrific with a gun that you support what they did, and so you have to defend your right to carry, which is ridiculous. And it is ridiculous. Donald Trump said within 24 hours he was going to do what? He was going to solve the world's problems. No, stop Ukraine and Russia. Lex Friedman is an interesting character, if you don't know who he is. Think of an academic, right? Big brain. Think he's from Ukraine or Russia. Super, I think he went to MIT. I think he was a professor there when he's like one of those ones. Like, he was a professor when he was 9. Now he has a podcast. And he talks to everybody. He's always on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was on it yesterday. And like I said, he's very dry. So think about it like it's if Dracula was a professor and dressed it like he was in a ska band. This is what it looks like and sounds like.
All of them believe, Putin and Zelensky, that Trump can do some crazy shit. Whatever you think about Donald Trump, he is this person that world leaders respect in the full meaning of the word respect. Not like admire, but fear. I think both Zelensky and Putin fear Donald Trump. And that's a great person to then make peace because he has the leverage.
Yeah, he's got the leverage in a different way. And here's the interesting thing about this, because he just interviewed Zelensky. And he wants to go interview Putin. And he said, look, I know what the risks are, but I'm willing to take the risk to go sit down with Putin. I think they're working on it. The one thing that's interesting about this is, Trump has that. And you want to be respected if you're a leader? Absolutely. But if you're not going to be respected, you damn better be feared. And Trump has a bit of that because he's a little bit of a wild card. But then they got into about what should have happened. And I think some of you will go, no. To put this thing to bed earlier, he thought we didn't give enough.
I believe U.S. actually gave not enough money to Ukraine. They should have given more money, hit really hard, and then make peace. This is the point. A month or two after the start of the war, you can learn the same kind of lesson with Iraq and Afghanistan. There's no reason those invasions, those military operations...
There's no other way? There's no other way than just give money? Give money and hit hard? There's no other way?
Avoid it.
Yeah, what about have NATO back out?
A lot of this is about diplomatic rhetoric. And yes, NATO was consistently talking to Putin.
Absolutely. They were. Remember, if you go back in the day and if you ever figure out how did Putin get into power, well, first of all, you know where all the bodies were buried because he buried them. But secondly, he coalesced power that included the Russian Orthodox Church. And Putin talked, at one time to Clinton, man, I'd like to join NATO one day. He wants to be respected. He wants to have the sovereignty of his country because think about this for a second. The Soviet Union and us were it. Forever and a day. Then it all fell apart. And part of that was on his watch in his world. And it all fell apart. The encroachment of the West, he didn't like. And the playing footsie with NATO wasn't really a great thing with Ukraine and them. Because Ukraine would love it. Because you know what? If you've learned anything from this entire thing is don't give up your nuclear weapons. Because I can guarantee you, if Ukraine didn't give up any of their nuclear weapons, the Putin would have thought twice about going in there.
And yes, NATO was consistently talking to Putin. Putin has laid out the interest of the Russian Federation. They want their security to be respected. They want their nation to be respected. You can't just say, and you come to the table, you have to show respect. You have to treat other world leaders, as funny as it is to say, the way you want to be treated.
And he wants to be respected. That's a big thing for him. He wants respect. He wants everybody, Trump, they're afraid of him. He's the wild card, all of those things. Putin, everybody says, Putin's got Trump by those Jordan Curleys and that. That's such a bunch of crap. But yeah, there is a certain sense for all leaders. They want to be liked and respected. But if you're not going to be any of those things, feared is definitely one of those things that you should be if you're going to be a leader.
Hey, Chad, if I could jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Trump has officially signed the executive orders to release the JFK and the MLK files.
Oh, this is it, kids.
This could be big.
Oh, my God.
Well,
still nothing on UFOs, though.
Not yet. Not that I've seen, anyway. Oh, man. But it's going to be interesting to see how heavily those files are redacted.
Well, if they're redacted at all. Because remember, he already signed that one, and everything came out, but then it was all redacted. So what's the use of handing me something that is just all black paper with and...
Yeah, it's like handing somebody a piece of paper that has nothing on it and go, here's your instructions.
Yeah. So we're going to get it. And you know what else? I think we're going to find out stuff about the FBI and the MLK files. That's going to be which we already think and know a lot, but a lot worse, for sure. Absolutely a lot worse. Back to the whole Russia thing. I think it's going to get done. And it's not going to be simple as people want, but as they point out in this, unfortunately for Zelensky, you're going to have to give up stuff. Compromise. It's horrible that you think I've got to give up some of my land, and thank God we're not in a position like that. That's great that we are who we are. He's going to have to give up some of that. And the Putin's also going to have to recognize he's not taking it all. And you're going to get to keep some of this, but this isn't going to happen again. And that's that fear factor. Coming up, we'll wrap up the show. I think Matt's here. We'll talk a little raccoon fun when he comes in because, man, they were talking raccoons yesterday. I even texted in about it because I said, you know what, raccoons are great, but those thumbs, woo, they can do some things. Those trash pandas are nuts. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. We're having a very serious conversation about Squidbillies and Unknown Henson and all that stuff. I love that.
Do not touch the trim. That's what he says.
Don't do it. Squidbillies.
If you've never seen Squidbillies, you don't know.
Matt Murphy, the dulcet tones over there.
Chad Benson.
So raccoon talk. We need more of it.
Let's go.
I love it. And
The
you came in
important
today.
matters.
I was today old to find out they have vaccines.
You know, I'd heard this. I'd not bothered to pick up my phone and do the copious amounts of research that is involved in finding out if raccoons can be vaccinated by just typing into the Google or DuckDuckGo machine, can raccoons be vaccinated? But it turns out they can. And you already knew.
I did, because if you guys want anything, just let me know. I can get you anything, anywhere, anytime, including, yes, would you like a lion?
Why do I feel like you got a little trench coat with a little baby?
Would you like a tiger?
You want a little hippopotamus?
You don't, by the way, you don't. And by the way, you can buy a tiger cheap. Like, let's just say they were legal here. You can buy them cheap. Let me tell you what's not cheap: feeding them.
I bet.
That's where that gets you that kind of stuff.
Big baller budget.
Yeah, you got to have,
that's a lot of red meat.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money.
on a daily basis.
It's a lot of money.
And then you find out, oh my God, there's a cat in my house that weighs 350 pounds.
That wants to, if it decided to, could eat you.
In a heartbeat. Although there was that guy that got eaten by his pugs the other day. Apparently,
What?
He died. And
And
French
they ate him
bulldogs.
after he died?
Yeah, and they
Is it
ate
one
him.
Brian Wilson, was it?
They ate him.
There's a couple of things wrong with that story. One, Brian Wilson is alive. Two, Brian Wilson does not have pugs.
Does he have French bulldogs?
He's got a French bulldog.
He feels like he's a slave to fashion. They're all slaves to fashion. Those French bulldogs.
A little sassy.
Hello
things.
there, I'm a French bulldog. Yes, you know who carries me around? The little stars that like to sing songs. But I like a British bulldog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into the bulldogs.
Comes with sleep apnea and laziness.
Yeah.
And stubborn.
Would die of their own. I mean, if left to their own devices, they would just keel over
Absolutely.
dead immediately.
Yeah, it was just the beauty of it.
Too much work.
Not raccoons or trash pandas.
So turns out my buddy Cameron Smith and I are talking one day, and he discovered that it was in a state like Tennessee. I mean, we're supposedly small government, right?
Yeah.
We're supposedly live and let live, right? I mean, that's what conservatism or Republicans are all about. And it turns out that you are not legally allowed to own a raccoon in the state of Tennessee, which I find particularly ridiculous, considering that we are the state of Davy Crockett, for goodness sake.
Yes.
The raccoon cap.
I just got to ignore immoral laws.
So, is he serious about trying to change this?
Well, all you do, I mean, you just get somebody to carry it. I mean,
nobody will carry
you get somebody. I will get somebody to carry it.
Yeah. Because I'm all in, and I have sitting there. Because I text you guys. I will tell you.
No,
this is what I text.
He's like, skunks are awesome too.
Skunks are great, right? And they're great pets. But raccoons, it's a drunk midget at your house with opposable thumbs doing stuff.
A little too smart. Is that what you're saying?
They are too smart, and at the same time, a little too stupid, because they will do things and put themselves in positions that are crazy.
Matt, can I own a possum?
I don't think you can own a possum currently legally.
This state is not living up to expectations.
You can own a bobcat, and you can own a lynx.
In Tennessee?
Yeah, there's certain monkeys you can own.
We learned that the hard way.
Yeah, don't do that, by the way.
I went into the Loveless Cafe. Have you been to Loveless yet?
No, I have not.
Loveless Cafe, famous location in Nashville, and we went in, and there was a hubbub.
Ooh, hubbub.
I mean, you know when you go in and you just missed something. It's like, what did we just miss? Oh, there was a monkey in here.
Yeah, monkey.
So what do you mean there was a monkey in here? And apparently there's a local guy that owns one of those little
you can get that
Rhesus or whatever it is.
My buddy had several monkeys, but he's like, dude, it's the nightmare that is. It's 24/7, 365. Diaper wearing, throwing a fit, crying. It is, it looks neat when you're driving down the street and you're like, the girls are like, oh my God. But then the reality sinks in that, this thing's with you all the time.
And needy.
It's
like a little Democrat in your house.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like guinea pigs. They poop every 10 seconds.
What does?
Guinea pigs.
Oh, guinea pigs. They are great. They taste amazing, by the way.
So did my Uncle Roy.
Your
every 10
Uncle
seconds.
Roy tastes?
Every 10 seconds. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, you ate Uncle Roy tasted just like a guinea pig.
Tasted great.
Matt Murphy's coming up. More raccoon talk on the way, and who knows what special guest he has. You guys, keep it right here. Super Talk 99.7.